Look at that. It looks so beautiful, right? So like whenever I feel pretty shit, I just go for a walk and I just like look at all those clouds and I just say to myself that there's so much left on this world and it just becomes better, right? Because sometimes like I feel like shit, right? Whether it's issues in my personal life, in my professional life, with just life in general, right? It's not always the best. Sometimes it really sucks. Sometimes it doesn't suck, right? And sometimes I don't know what to do. It's a very weird feeling of like, in a sense, believing in hope, in having hope, right? It's like I have hope. I have all of this hope. But I'm still scared. I still feel bad. I still feel like I will never make it, you know? But there's still hope. So it's like some kind of masochistic pain, right? It's like I don't want the pain, but I have pleasure in a very weird sort of sense. In the it's like the hope is there, and there's like this kind of pleasure, and it's just it doesn't feel right, and you know it feels very wrong. That's what I'm trying to say. It just feels very wrong. It doesn't feel raw. These terminologies are not the best, but hopefully you can keep up. But either way, you know, I had a really bad day today, right? And that's kind of why I went on this walk. It wasn't the best. Had a pretty large fight, and I did not like it, like one bit, you know. But then what happened? Yeah, I get really anxious when I'm making these videos around people. So like there was someone next to me and I got really anxious, which is normal, right? Normal human stuff, I guess. But yeah, I got into a lot of big fights actually the past couple of days, and you know, it doesn't feel right. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes it, you know, like how sometimes you get into such a big fight, you don't even know how to articulate it to someone, you don't even know how to explain it to someone. It's like, usually if you come from upbringing like I did, anytime someone's wrong, it's going to be me, right? It's going to be the child. Parents are never wrong, they're always right, and I'm the one who's going to be always wrong. And that sucks, right? Because like no matter what you do, you're still human. You make mistakes, but like they know I make mistakes, but when they make mistakes, you know, they are never the ones who are wrong. And that's just people in general, I guess. Maybe if you have a close set of friends, yeah, it's nice, you know. I have a very close set of friends which I talk with on like a pretty much daily basis, but okay, well maybe not daily. Like we were there since like high school, and you know it was pretty cool. But no one ever prepared me for the fact that sometimes people whom you're close with when you were kids, you kind of grow apart in the sense that they start to get more work, you become more busy, and you guys don't have much time for each other. And it sucks. It really does suck because you know I want to spend more time together, but it's like I don't get the opportunity, right? It's weird. It's weird. Holy shit, there's a bench. I never noticed that bench. Like usually when I'm on this trail, I have never noticed that bench. If I noticed it before, I would have definitely sat on that. I think it's no, it's not new. Look look at that. There's stains on it. It can't be new if it has stains. I guess I'm just stupid, but okay. But yeah, go for a walk. That's my piece of advice, right? Go for a walk and just like if you're going to go for a walk, go for a walk in a place like this, or in a place where you can see the sky, because or there's like a lake or there's some kind of nature, right? Because I think what that does is that it like shows to you like how vast this entire world is. So like even if you get into a fight, you're like, well, it doesn't matter because this look how big the world is, right? Like look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Right? So it doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter. Maybe it does. I'm not sure, but hopefully it doesn't matter. You know, if you're someone who's currently in a family where well basically your parents are narcissists, you know. Well, I understand your pain, you know. It sucks. It sucks so much, right? But see, you guys heard that. You guys heard the but. It's like I was going to say that narcissists and they suck, but there's a but. It's like we were trained to always defend people like that, right? Ever since we were young. So it sucks, you know. It really does suck because you want to grow. Like you have learned a lot about a lot, but then there are still parts of you that are blocking you from achieving what you want, right? And it really does suck, but it could get way better. That's what I'm hoping, you know. I've gone through a lot of bad stuff, you know, in my life, and a lot of good stuff, right? I'm not discounting the good, not discounting the bad either, but you get what I mean. It wasn't necessarily all good, but not necessarily bad either. But it was very taxing. And listen, what I'm trying to say is that when I was suffering, no one came to help. No one. I had to figure that shit out by myself. Right? Yet, yeah, that's it. You know, sometimes you try too hard to sound smart or try to articulate stuff, but like sometimes it's just we try so hard to keep in our suffering, to not bother other people about it, but like maybe we should bother other people about our suffering. Maybe, you know, because like if other people fucked us up, then why can't we do the same to them? You know, and I'm not saying it from like a place of revenge, but rather I'm saying it from a place of like fairness. You know, like something which I always felt guilty about was I always felt guilty about like never reaching out to ask help from anyone, right? I always just thought, okay, well, I never asked help from this person or from that person, so it must be my fault. I must be the one in the wrong, right? Because I never asked help. But then when I look back on it, right, I was never, whenever I did ask for help, I was always kind of put down. Like, basically, no one helped me when I asked for help, right? And that sucks. That really does suck. Whether it be my friends or my family, well, I can't really blame my friends. They were children at the time. I was also a child, but, But let me just tie my shoelaces real quickly. Not tied, but one of the strands got loose and I had to push it inside the shoe, and that's new. You see that? That's new. I came a couple of days ago, that was in there. So that's like so cool. Look at that. Look. Look how beautiful that is, guys. Oh my god. But yeah. From a distance, that kind of looks like a dragonfly, right? I'll just boom, boom, boom. Look at that. From a distance, that looks like a dragonfly. Is it not? But yeah, there's like so much of pain, and sometimes you don't even know what to do with it. It's like the only thing that you can do with it is to just let the pain be and you just accept it. So basically, it's like you get fucked up and you're there with the aftermath. You're basically there just to clean up the mess by yourself, which is very sad, but it's just how life works, right? Then again, it does make you stronger, right? It makes you psychologically, who the fuck pronounces it like that? It makes you stronger, right? It makes you stronger, it makes you this and that. That's what everyone says, and but like whenever I guess there's room for complaining, it's like you can't complain, you have to be strong. You have to do this, you have to become stronger, you have to become wiser, you have to be a man, you have to basically do everything but not be weak. And you should try to be strong. And yeah, that's true. You should do your best to become stronger. You should do your best to improve. I feel like you need to also have compassion and allow yourself to be weak sometimes, right? For you to complain, for you to say stuff you don't mean, to regret stuff, and to mourn, to figure out if you were the one in the wrong, or just basically whine and bitch about stuff, right? Because that's the stuff that that's never get taught. Like that never gets taught, right? It's like, be strong, do your best to become stronger. But like, if you're being weak, I'm sorry the world is this to you, but like, you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be weak. You don't deserve to bitch and moan about stuff, right? And it's like, well, you do, right? You do. Obviously, if you bitch and moan about that for like for a very long period of time, indefinitely, then like without doing anything to improve, then that's on you, right? But like, if you do improve later on, then what's wrong with like complaining about stuff? It's okay to complain. It's okay to regret. It's okay to do all of that, right? In a sense, it's okay to fail. It's like my mom always used to say it's okay to fail. I'm never going to pressure you to do this or that or this. I'm going to keep you calm. I'm going to do all of that. I'm like, okay, that sounds nice, but you say that, but you don't do that. Like, actions speak louder than words, right? You know, you say you're going to allow me to fail, but when I fail, you're like, why you do that? Then starts comparing me to someone else, then saying, they're making jokes about regretting having me. Sometimes not even jokes. That's just like subtle disrespect that like accumulates over your entire lifetime, and then it's just bad, right? And then you think, okay, then after you leave them, it's going to be fine, right? But then no, it doesn't, right? Like, you're going to have that for a very long time, right? Because like they're still going to be around, and if you are in contact with them, then well, they're always going to send stuff like saying, oh, look at that, that's a cute bird. Ooh, hello, buddy. But yeah, you move out, but they're still gonna send like videos of their friends or pictures of their friends saying they did this, why can't you do that? And then they're like, it's like they try too hard to control your own life, and you don't have freedom. They spend their entire lives micromanaging you and then beating you psychologically to such a low point that you can't be independent, right? And then when you aren't independent, they're like, holy shit, you're a fucking loser. It's like, no, I'm not, right? Because I wasn't taught this stuff, and I wasn't taught to care about this stuff, so I never did. But then once I learned, I actually started taking initiatives to learn. But then once I started to learn, you're still like, come on, do this instead, right? Do this other thing instead. And it's like, I'm so fucking tired. I am so fucking tired of this bullshit. Every day, every fucking day. Having to deal with the same. It's like I'm fucking being parented by a fucking child. It's like I'm being parented by a fucking child. It's so exhausting. And there's this entire thing where you're supposed to respect your parents. And it's like, yeah, you should. But like, you should not feel, in a sense, grateful for them. I mean, you should, but it's like, you don't owe them anything, right? It's like, I see so much of people saying you owe your parents this and that. I'm like, why should I owe my parents for being born, right? If I never even asked for it. It's like, yeah, I could appreciate it, but like, do like, just like if a tiger gives birth, to a little kitten, to a cub, and once they grow up, you know what they do? They leave. They never come back, and the parents die on their own, right? You don't, and I'm not telling to like, let your parents suffer alone, no, but like, come on. You don't owe them. You don't owe anyone just because they gave you life. That's just how it's supposed to be. That's just life, That's just normal human stuff. So yeah, it's kind of painful sometimes. And remember when I said I get anxious? This is what I mean. Probably a sweet person, but I'm anxious. But yeah, like, I spend so much of my time, so much of my life trying to think that, oh my God, I should be so grateful for my parents. Like, yeah, maybe there should be a little level of gratitude, but, I don't have to bend over backwards, you know. It's like I spent so long trying to live for their expectations, live their life, but I never even considered what my life would be. You know, only recently did I started to. Recently means like it was 5 years of work. Like, I had to spend 5 years from ever since I became a teenager. In fact, like trying to undo tons of like bad, psychological stuff that happened to me. Right? Basically, I tried to off myself like 3 different times in my life. It wasn't pleasant. No, like I hated myself. I had to spend 5 years. Most of it was inflicted by my parents, right? And then stuff at school, but most of my parents. But yeah, but like even though that was happening, you know, even though that wasn't happening, that was happening. It should have happened, right? It's like no child should spend 5 years untangling their own shit, right? Untangling the shit that someone else gave them. It makes no sense, right? It's like, uh, you know, the worst part is like, even if you bring up these things to them, they won't care. They won't care at all. It's like, oh, why? It's like, uh, yeah, they won't care, right? It's because it's like, they are not going to believe it, right? They simply are not going to believe it, or they're going to refuse to believe it, right? Sorry, they cannot accept it, right? Because they have the mindset that, oh, wait a minute, I wanted to give you everything. I gave you all the freedoms I never had. I gave you all the pleasures I never had. I gave you all the good things, and now you're coming and complaining back to me. I try to not pressure you. I try to give you everything. I try to give you comfort. And it's like, no, you fucking did not. You never did. You believe you did, but you never did. Right? You weren't there when I needed you most. Like, obviously, you did so much of wonderful things for me, right? And I'm very grateful for that. But I should also know where I'm not grateful for you. You know, if you have thought on many occasions, right, that you wish that you had another child, then it should be completely fair for me to wish the same, but with a different parent. That's only fair. It, it can't just go one way, it has to go both. You know? It sucks. It really does suck. But like, it's getting better. Actually, it's gotten way better. Right? I feel very happy like 80 to 90% of the time now. But whenever I run into that one fucking dipshit, that one part of my life which I call a dipshit, then it's not so nice. It's not so nice. Look at these. It's a hawk. Wee. Sorry about that, but yeah, it sucks. But then again, it's gotten way better. But I do know that it's not the same for everyone else, right? And that sucks. That sucks. I do. And you know what's the weird part? I consider myself fortunate too. It's like, if I am living this good, being able to have a view like this. Imagine what other children had to go through who weren't as less fortunate. Like, I can't imagine, right? You know, if I'm ever going to have children, I'm not going to be like them, right? And I'm going to do way, way better. I promise that, right? Because I am so tired from just living, right? That I can't stand. I can't stand to just sit around anymore and just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's weird, but I think as long as we have someone for us, someone who we can relate to, you know, it doesn't have to be like, I mean, it could be like someone like a friend, but that's not who exactly I'm referring to. Like, I'm kind of referring to like someone who we could put our hopes towards, then maybe that will work, you know, because that's what worked for me. I watched a lot of shows, you know, like I watched those shows because I was depressed and I wanted to fight off that depression. That's the only reason I watched it, right? But then what happened was, I'll just, yeah, you know, what happened was after, you know, while I was watching these shows, I started to relate with more characters. I started getting hope. You know, they were giving me hope, you know, and then that saved me. That saved me. I don't know. I'm kind of getting emotional here. I kind of felt teary-eyed, or I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's just I don't understand why. But yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that. Have hope, right? Have so much of hope that no one, and I mean no one, can take it away from you. I still don't know what to do about the future. Actually, I do know, but I'm scared. Very scared, but I have hope. I have hope that it will work out. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a splendid day. Why did I fucking sound like a worthless YouTuber? Bye.